So good morning. How's everybody doing? You guys have been into this so far. Who's been here 2 days already? So we'll try this on. Let's see what kind of crazy we're dealing with. Who's starting a CPP program? Okay, who already has one? And 1, 2 years, 3 years?
1 semester.
1 semester. Okay, good. So that's helpful. And about how many students in your program?
Went down to about 4. We should have about 10 now.
Is your target? And is that your target window? What are you thinking?
It's not a target window. We're not going to put a cap on it, but
What do you think when you dream this thing? You think it looks
if
like
I were to dream big, we'd have 20 or 30 students. But
Okay.
we're in a really rural.
2 years, 3 years, 4 years?
2 years.
2 years. Good morning.
Good morning.
You guys just in the process of starting a CPP
Yeah.
as well? Or you've got one ready?
Not.
Okay.
We've been around for 3 years, but we're still learning.
Where are you at?
City Impact, San Francisco.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. And you guys already had something going on before you had
Yes.
a CPP program as
Yes.
well. Okay. And you run a bunch of students there. How many?
We have 27 total, but
Okay.
about 13 that are in.
The CPP? Okay, and then the other sites, what size church, what are you thinking for?
Yeah, so I'm not the director of the program, nor am I the coordinator, but I'm in his stead here. So I actually pass the young adults department at my
Okay.
church, but it's in Dublin, California, in Alamo. So we're a multi-site church in the Bay Area, and church size around 2,500 to 3,000.
Great church. I met a few people from the outstanding.
Okay, great, yeah.
I know you guys.
And so we're getting it kicked off this year, and had an internship prior, but now we want to throw in Northwest into the mix.
So you're starting this fall.
Starting this fall.
How many interns do you think?
We have 4 thus far, but my suspicion is that we'll probably launch with 10 to 15.
Oh, awesome. And what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm from Reach Church here in Kirkland.
Oh,
Yes.
spectacular team. He's
Yeah.
a student of mine.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
Brian, stud too.
Yes,
So,
he's
yeah. Okay.
And we have about 3 girls signed up so far. So we might be an all-girls school for the fall, but we'll see.
We've had that season too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm from Spokane Valley, and our church we've had this program for maybe 2 or 3 years, but nobody to really spearhead it and
Right.
make this into something. So just in these last few months, I just said, I want to tackle this, and I want to make this something that students want to be a part of. So we're kind of relaunching it this fall, and I'm just kind of,
What's your other job there?
I'm the worship pastor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting association, yeah. But God give your heart for it, so it'll go. That's Brian Nobles at that church, right?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Darren. I'm from Zilla. This is our first year. We have 2 signed up, 1 sort of thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you see this thing in the future, what do you see it for capacity, size?
Well, we're kind of unique because Zilla has 3,000 people. We just got our first stoplight, so it's kind of a big deal.
So are you the Church of
We're the Church of
Assemblies
Godzilla.
of Godzilla?
We're the Church of Godzilla.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You win.
The coolest name ever.
Everybody got that, right? The Church of Godzilla? Okay, just checking. Because that's, yeah.
So we're rural,
Okay.
farm wineries, but we have a private school, and the principal of the private school, we're just looking to expand.
Kind of create like a segue, a next step, sort of.
Yeah, just birth to death, just never leave the school.
Oh, that helps me understand what we're doing this morning. My name's Christian Lindbeck. I'm from Canyon Creek Church. I've known Jim for, more than 20 years, yeah. I was an administrator and a student here. Anybody at Northwest students? Okay, so a student and then...
Sorry.
No, come on. And then came back as an administrator, and even then we were dreaming about something like this. And so I think I called Jim 4 years ago when this was starting and said, hey, I hope that you guys are getting ready to launch something like this. We'd love to. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, we just came out of a meeting that said, let's go ahead and give it a shot. So we've watched it go from those first initial sites to, would you say 80 now, 75, something like that?
70 is
70 is where we're looking.
solid goal, yeah.
And so I have been keenly interested in seeing something like this work, a relationship between the church and the university, since I was an administrator here. I should be clear that I don't run the day-to-day operations of ours either. I started the program. its heart, what it does, the vision for how we do it, that came from me and the initial team. But now we developed from volunteers, we developed a paid team. By the way, if you are starting a program, you should test your theory by seeing how well you share your vision with volunteers. If you can get one or two other people to join with you and say, the way you communicate this makes me want to serve regardless of compensation, you're probably on the right track. And so everybody that started with us, you ever seen a riot get started? You've heard this before? You know, you have to have at least one other crazy person who will follow you, and that one other crazy person attracts somebody else. Once there's about 3 of you, the rest just fall into line. They don't even know what's happening, just something's happening. And so it's hard to hire a staff initially when the thing isn't creating revenue. So just a little side note, we did start with everybody doing this volunteer, the same kind of passion that makes a worship leader decide to start a school of ministry. Now we've developed it to, I have this 1/5 of my portfolio at Canyon Creek. So it's 1/5 of my demanded portfolio and 60% of my committed time, I would say, because it takes a lot of time to parent these students is what it feels like. We do have a day-to-day director. This is Maria Lyon right here, so she runs the school for us. Alongside of her, we have what we call a registrar or a coordinator, Siobhan, somebody who runs precision details. So if I think here's what it should be and I think it's awesome and Maria thinks here's what it could be, Siobhan thinks here's exactly how we'll get it done. And I think having somebody like that on your team is critical. And then we have also recruited our youth pastor onto our team. And she's compensated to be there as well. And he brings, we call him the director of community life, and I'll get into that in a minute, but it is his job to make it fun, exciting, connected. And we run in the traditional program, am I correct in saying 23, 24? 24 plus about 3 or 4 adult students in the program as well. And it takes that many of us to do that efficiently. In fact, we've added to that a student administrator as well, somebody who is a liaison with the students and handles the little things like picking up a classroom. For those of you that haven't run this school yet, but you have worked around young people, then you know that they're profoundly dirty. And so it's amazing just the amount of work that is in just picking up the stuff that they leave in a classroom. So the team has developed, before I kind of get into, I think the idea here is you're supposed to hear from somebody who's running a program about what you should do and should not do. That is a really wide open door. I just want to take a minute to explain what we do, and then how I think you wrestle out the questions of what you might do, and then I've just got a couple of hints on there. So what we do is what we have become. It is not what we started. I don't have PowerPoint. That's not the way my brain works, but I do draw. And I think all of life is you start something like a funnel, the wide open end of a funnel, and then you just experiment in there and you find out what you become. So what you think you might be now, or all that you think you might offer now, might get refined over time. As you try this out, you find out who your people are and what is actually needed. And so when we started, we wanted a AA in ministry leadership, an associate of arts, and our students wanted a 4-year. And we have discovered over time where we belong. Also, I think our church wanted something like adult school, a really amped up Bible class kind of a thing. And we experimented with that, but it brought so many people into the program pursuing so many different directions that I'll say this a couple times this morning. Since we were serving everybody, we were serving nobody. And so we had to decide precisely what we wanted to become. What we have become primarily is for traditional students, 18 to 24. A bridgeway to university. So I want to say this a couple times. We are not a 4-year granting institution for a whole bunch of reasons. We can, but so far we're just not there as a motive. In other words, we still don't think maybe that's the right answer for them. I'd love to see them go to school here or go to school somewhere else and expand that, their vision, their experience, their ideas. Right now we only offer the AA degree. Again, I'll talk about making your own decisions. The reason is we had to figure out how we could deliver that many classes, that experience, and keep everybody together. When it's this small, like cohorting is critical. So the shared experience means a lot for these students. It's their primary challenge initially. They ride this arc, which is, oh, we all love being here, we're family, it's the greatest ever. I hate you, I can't wait to get away from you. Work through that to recovery, and there's something really good after that, but that comes from that continuity that stretches across their emotional and their educational experience. The AA, we found, provides us the broadest footprint for sending people all over the place. So even if somebody wants to go into ministry, I don't suggest that a 2-year degree is terminal in the first place. So if you want to go into ministry, then you can do your general credit work with us, then you can easily transition to Northwest University and continue that degree, but it also sets us up to send students everywhere. Every one of our graduates is right now pursuing 4-year education all over the place. Some of them are here, but we have SPU, Wazoo, the University of Iowa, Chicago. We have students who are everywhere because we've stayed focused on providing that quality AA degree. For us, the classroom is only one of 3 components that all have equal value for us. So I'm going to say a couple of times, find out what you want to do. We knew we wanted to transform student lives, and the classroom wasn't enough to do that. And so for us, it's a 3-part puzzle. So a rigorous Christian university education. We don't dumb our product down. We don't change our expectations. We like to think if you sit in this seat here or the seat with us, you are getting the exact same quality education. We do scaffold our students, which is we understand our students need some support getting there, but the expectations remain the same. We communicate that to the students and to their parents who are usually paying for it. That this is an excellent, is a rigorous, is a good university education. The next component of that is the practicum education that all of you are doing, curricular-driven practicum education. From our philosophy, not so much about what they learn in practicum, but more about learning to take thoughts and turn them into work, and completed work, most importantly. Can you hear something, think about it, research it, create work, and complete that work? We do ours in a 3-step process, which we call discover, dig in, and do. We don't communicate that to the students because it sounds cheesy, but it helps us remember how to do it. In the first year, they all explore 4 core practicum tracks. All of them do it for 7 weeks. I don't know if you guys do it this way or if it's a standardized thing, but they begin in missions because it corresponds with our missions month, and they go to children's because then they can help with Christmas. And then they go to youth because then they can help plan winter camp. And then they go to creative arts and worship because then they can have a big end of year project kind of worship thing. So they all explore those, and then the second year, first semester, second year is dig in. So we orient them to a particular practicum. It is no longer constrained to just those initial 4, but we find ourselves shaping practicums for the needs and students and their calling. So we work with our staff to craft a whole series of practicum. And then that first semester is they really now dig into a topic, and then the second semester of the second year, they complete a signature project, right? So they've discovered all the ways, they dig into truly understanding some area, and then they complete some big project, and they complete their mentoring with that person. And that, for us, the students will say sometimes like, well, I don't know if for this I get a grade, and for this I'm just doing it. And we try to really underscore this is as important as the classroom. Your success here matters as much as turning in your grade for English. The third component for us that is also equally as important is this personal coaching, discipleship, and Bible. And so we've created a program that corresponds to both the classroom and to the practicum education that educates a student in all the things that we think they need to be a successful Christian and human being. And so that kind of personal coaching, we invest a lot of time in knowing them individually, and counseling and directing them. And so that extra component for us, which also sometimes feels like an extra, bears the exact same weight as the classroom and the practicum. And we want to say, when students are coming in, when we look at that 3-way approach, we are not a degree-granting organization. Because you can get a degree anywhere. By the way, you can get an AA almost anywhere, and if you're doing just cost-benefit analysis, there's other places to get an AA. And so we're trying to say, the kids came to a church for their educations. They've already given you a clue, right? We want to make this about life transformation. When you sign up, it's not like, oh, I'll take this class and not take this class, or I think I'll be here for 3 months and then out. This comes from my military background. It is, I'll tell you what, I'll sign up with you if you sign up with me, but we're on for 2 years. And they're like, well, I finished my classes, so I think I should be done. We're like, well, you could be done with the classwork, but you won't be done with us. You won't be graduating from this school, because all 3 components are part of the graduation. Since the goal is life transformation, not just issuing a degree. Does that difference make sense to you? So that's primarily what we do, is a 2-year life transformation program. Secondarily, we do have adult students. Initially, we combined our adult students with our traditional students. We gave them the same level of support. We had a broader spectrum of adult students we're in, and we found that to be complicated. They required as much to get through the classes, but they didn't become a part of the community, and it was muddling our overall product. And so for us, we do have adult students. We just tell our adult students, please feel free to sign up with us, take all the online classes you want. If you want to take some live courses with us, that's great, and there is the end of our support. And you're big kids, and you can figure it out. And that has been like an absurd blessing to us. And I'd say at any given time, there are 3 or 4 adult students who are still paying the site fee, because it is cheaper to be a full-time student paying the site fee through the CPP than to be enrolled on their own. So I just like to call that a blessing to them and a revenue stream to us. Most of those people are our staff people or people in the church who are looking to get licensure or ordination. Again, not a lot are completing their AA through us, because depending on where you're at, that's a competitive market. But we've got staff who needed to get their ordination. At any given time, 2 more adults just came to us this week and want to pursue that through us. And that's something that we can help happen. It's not exclusively that. So I think of a student named Heather Taylor, afraid to go back to school. 46 when she started with us, completed her AA, has gone to Bastyr to complete her BA, start her master's, and will be going to SPU in the fall to complete a PhD. So that's from afraid to go to school through us to doctoral work. And so there are some of those wins as well. She became a great component in the classroom for our students. So that's what we do. I think the question for you as you're forming a program or in the initial steps of a program, I think why you're here is, okay, what would you recommend for us as we get it going? What helps make it excellent? And before I get into some specifics, and I do have a few, I think the questions you have to ask yourself ongoing, not just at the start, but ongoing, are these big 4 questions about running a CPP program. And they change all the time. And if you go back to what I said initially about it being a funnel and not a defined place you're going to, like, you can't see now where you're going to be in 2 years. You can just see in the direction you need to move. As you do that, you'll have to keep asking yourself these 4 questions. Number 1, why are we doing this? Now, I know that this seems obvious at first. At least it did to us. Like, why are we doing this? Well, this will be cool. Like, we'll have college classes at our church. Awesome. This question will come up more and more and more as this goes on. You know why? It's hard. It's totally worthwhile, but it's hard, and it will take your time and other staff people's time. And they will start to ask, why are we doing this? And I suggest a crystal clear answer so that you know, what are we thinking? How do we benefit? How's this benefiting the kingdom? How's this benefiting the church? How's this benefiting the students? Because you might stand back and say, hey, we are offering this, and in your situation, it might be the best thing for the students. But if you were honest, you might say, actually, there's a really great option just down the street. All I'm doing is replicating something that already exists. If you can't come up with clear answers at the beginning, they will fall apart in the midst of the process. And I've met with Jim and Carrie, other people planning churches, and my first question every time is, why are you doing this? And if they blank stare me for a while, that's when I say, you should just pause and go consider this. Like, what is your purpose? Who are you helping? Why are you doing it? For us, it was really simple, and I'm going to tell you, at least it was clarity. We needed a leadership pipeline. So I'm going to tell you what my outcomes were. My outcomes sound more kingdom-oriented, but from our church's lead team perspective, it was we're planting campuses. We had 3 then. We're up to 7 now. We need people to work at those campuses. We need a leadership pipeline. This can help us do that, and it can help us offset the salaries of some of the people that we would need to do this anyhow. Those sound a little cutthroat, but they're real motives. And they're motives that I can come back to, right? So the church can answer, why are we doing this? It creates leaders. What else does it do? But these people need to create leaders anyhow, and if I can offset their salary in the creation of leaders in an excellent way, then this is good for us. So you'll have to ask yourself, what's our purpose? What are we trying to accomplish? The second question you must ask yourself, I believe, is for whom are we doing this? Now, I hinted at this already. Decide who your audience is, because it will change all the ways that you talk, communicate, promote, reach out to them, especially in the proliferation of opportunity. So I love that I think there should be 3 times as many programs as there are. Some are going to grow, some are going to go away. The ones that are going to go away are the ones that don't have correct leadership, like you talked about, or they're not exactly sure why they do it. But, I don't know, it seemed cool. We had classes and it was available. But if you don't know exactly who you're trying to reach, just think of all the options that they have. You can go to university, you can come here, you can go to a local college, you can go to community college. I bet within the next 10 years you can go to community college for FREE, and that will be a game changer. Did you guys see that Nebraska passed that yesterday? Or was it Tennessee? Tennessee, I don't know. Free community college for any adult in the state. And that's a movement, right? Where people are trying to get that to happen. And there's tons of online products, really good online products. And so in that marketplace where there's lots of places for them to go, lots of opportunities, and another program just like yours. Now, maybe not if you're in a rural area, but around us, there's like 4. I mean, just in my neighborhood, of these very programs. And so, like, initially we're like, oh, people will come from all over the area. Well, now if we go to, like, talk to another church, hey, are your kids, students interested in coming? They're like, well, we have one of these. So we're in the process of filling our own. And I think knowing exactly what you're doing and knowing exactly who you're trying to reach. And at the beginning of your answer is primarily our own students, our own pipeline, you're probably safe. If it's primarily our own students and those whom we can recruit, then you better get real particular. Like City Impact. They can go whom we can recruit because everybody knows who they are. I mean, they have this massive impact in the city of San Francisco. People travel from all of the United States already to go there. So they're adding something to theirs, but they already have this inherent draw, right? And so I just very carefully think, know who you're going for. Is it going to be our own students? If we're recruiting our own students, are we offering them something that we think is worthwhile? If we're recruiting our own students, whom among our own students? When I started, I'll admit, in my heart was to desire the cream of the crop among our students. And in our experience so far, the cream of the crop go to university. And so then start thinking, who are our people? Like, where do we go? I call this the 595 rule. 5% of our students can do anything they wanted to. The world is open to them. They can go to any school they want. It's totally open. That's our top 5. The bottom 5 are a student whose life is a train wreck. And you know those people in your church. Family's a train wreck. They're on their way to crashing. But you look at them and think, if somebody just believed in you and helped you, you might make it. And for us, we got about a 50-50 washout rate with that group. And so we got 5 at the top, 5 at the bottom, and our bread and butter is the middle. It's the pretty good kid, not sure where they want to go. Right? I don't know. And those students we have found, not only do we have a place for them, not only is our pipeline super clear when we're looking at our campuses or our churches or we're talking to people, but it changes our job. So when we bring those students in, it is a lot more work. You reparent them, You are educating them. You have to provide social, emotional, and academic scaffolding, not just academic scaffolding. It's like life, like discipleship. You guys are in church. It is taking these students through this life-on-life discipleship, like parenting somebody. However, a sort of a surprise to us, I think we begrudgingly discovered these are our people. Because we're like, but I want the kid who can write a paper, not the one who is creating this stuff. What we have found, however, is that, like we just had graduation a couple of weeks ago, the fruit is so sweet when the work is really hard. When we see the graduates now, I mean, we were just all moved. I think you had a future that went nowhere. And now you have, all of you are going to school. All of you are going somewhere. We took 12 students out of our own church that seemed to have no great future. I'm going to use a name from 2 years ago, Dakota, whose dream, and I'm not kidding, I'm like, Dakota, what are you going to do with your life? He's like, I don't know, nothing happens in my family. I think I'm just going to keep delivering pizza. I'm like, for your whole life, this is your dream. And I think he's kidding a little bit, but that's where he saw a ceiling. And so this year, he's completing his degree at WSU. So he is a solid A- student at Wazoo, but he's getting a degree in sports management. He's going to be looking at a master's degree. He's doing great. So I think if you know who your students are and you know what you're trying to get out of it, then you can celebrate those wins. Just ask yourself that question. For whom are we doing? Now if you know why you're doing it and for whom you are doing it, then you can get to the two that your church is going to care a lot about. You guys still with me? So the first one is, what are the outcomes and how do you know when you're winning? And you should know the answer to both of these. So what are my expected outcomes? And Jim, you'll tell me when I'm running out of time, right? Right. What are your total expected outcomes? So I already told you that when we planned it, we're like, well, we need a leadership pipeline and the income that it generates. And by the way, that's not if you haven't put that down when you meet with your lead pastor, bless them and say, you do this right, it can become a revenue stream. They'll be delighted to hear that. And so we only added 2 expected outcomes to it, and I'll do it from the most spiritual to the most practical. Ready? It will be great for the kingdom of God because we are going to invest in people. We are going to raise solid Christians who understand their faith. I mean, I personally teach them through the entire Bible in 2 years. And when they walk out, they can tell you the story of the Bible, how it develops, what's happening. So I think we create really solid, mature Christians, and that is a wonderful contribution to the kingdom. We're not the only ones who can do that, but that is an outcome that is generated. The second outcome that is very valuable is that it is good for the students, and I talked about that, right? So I could say it's good for the kingdom, and for the 24 traditional students that we have in the program right now, it's really good for them too. Those altruistic, nice-sounding outcomes will be tested when things get tricky. So those are good, and they're absolutely true, but these next 2 outcomes matter for us as well, and that is, we will see leaders, and I know I've said this, but I want to talk about how you know when you're winning. We will see leaders serving at Canyon Creek Church, and we will create a usable revenue stream that the lead pastor, executive team, and staff know is contributing to their salaries. So that when they think, I work and help the school or ministry or whatever you call leadership college function, they know, good for the kingdom, good for the students, and good for me. And I know that sounds super capitalist, but that's how people work. They're trying to manage their time. We've all got a lot to do, and they think this is actually part of the blessing of working here. I try to leverage the money that we get in as salary and as unexpected gifts. So if you are running this, and you've got another practicum director, and it starts to create some revenue, see if you can offset their salary a little bit, give them, and then, out of nowhere, write them a thank you note and put a $500 check in there from your ministry. That is like a blow their socks off. At the end of the day, it cost you way more than $500 to have paid them for that year. But $500 then at the end of the year just feels like this giant, oh my gosh, I can't believe I get, and then they're feeling all the warm fuzzies from the students they raised up anyhow, and then you just dropped a weekend vacation on them, and it's gold. So think about that. That for me leads about, so if I know what I'm doing and for whom I'm doing it, and I know my outcomes, you need to know what it looks like when you're winning. because you need to celebrate that. You guys all work in churches, and so you have found that fine line between bragging about your area, which is a mistake, and sharing your wins so that other people can celebrate with you. Sharing your wins, everybody's encouraged. This is winning, we're all winning together, this is really cool, we can celebrate. We did this, people don't appreciate it so much. And so if you take your outcomes and you think about how you celebrate, what motivates you, you'll know for your own self if it's worth your time, like everything that you're doing, if it's worth the time of your staff, and worth the time of your organization. Pause. This doesn't just take up your time and staff time, it takes up facility time. Like I said, people got to clean up after it. Somebody else can't use a room because you're using it. Your students need to go pray in the auditorium, but the production team wants to get things fired up. Your students will leave dishes. Your students will leave lights on. Somebody has to lock up the building at the end of the night. There's all these additional components in there that you can't always be the person that takes care of, and so other people need to be involved. So celebrating these wins will help a lot when the day-to-day realities come up. So for us, again, when we see a student that formerly didn't seem to have a future but has one, we crazy celebrate it. So you've done a graduation so far, right? But nobody else has gotten to graduation yet? We learned a very important rule with graduation. Spend extra and make it big. I am not playing around. Then everybody gets to see your celebration. At first we just thought, people know that our students are graduating, we stood them up. That got a little bit of win. We put some college regalia on them and took a part of the service, and it's all people could talk about for 2 weeks. Parents, donors, everybody just comes up and says, I can't believe we have this program here. I knew that kid. I see what they're doing. I see what they're doing next on the slide. We make sure, it's going from here to Western Washington University or whatever it is on there. People see the win in the student's life, and then it's totally worth it to them. I see why we do this. If the lead pastor were to say, hey, I'm striking this, they're like, no. We see make sure you share the win so that they can celebrate it with you. This part, and again, I don't want to sound cool about this, like mechanical, but we know we're winning our outcome as leadership pipeline. We know we're winning when students actually stick around and serve at our church. This took a shift in my mind because I tend to be, just go where God is calling you. You want to go out of state and go to school? That sounds great. You want to go work at this other church? I'm so glad we've raised you up and you're going. I have this wide open, go out, be zealously jealous for the students that you have invested in. They will appreciate it, and so will your church. Instead of just saying, go be free, say, I love you, we have a relationship. If you want to go there, I'm okay, but I want you to stay here. We've worked together. I want you to stay here, serve here. Once that investment from your practicum leaders and your church end up in people serving in your church, you're winning. It just immediately turns around. Worship leaders, kids workers, missions, all of a sudden the church just sees this. They see the pipeline, and we're not just dispersing the pipeline. I literally think about, let's say you had a pipe that was delivered into your campus, and you did something, you cleaned up the water, right? Would you just disperse that out into the field and drain it in the ground, or would you create a very distinctive back loop of clean water back to your site? That's what you don't feel bad about being zealous about keeping your students around, because you're winning. That is, they clearly see. I see the transformation, and I see that it's not just helping the kingdom, which I'm glad for. Yes.
I have a quick question for you.
Please, yeah.
So, because we're launching this in the fall, I've been having conversations with a few of our students who are graduating, and one of our students is dead set with Hillsong in January. And so we've been having great conversation about what would this look like practically for you to stay here and to really help build this community and build the Lord's kingdom at home where you're at. And so she's kind of getting fired up, and then we had a conversation just a few days ago, and she's like, yeah, I'm so excited to go to Hillsong.
Stay on it, because you're exactly correct. That's exactly what you'd be. It's okay to, if you feel like you're giving them something worthwhile, be jealous to have them around. By the way, it amps up every time you do that. Like I tell Maria, every time, we had just had like a donor dinner where we thank all our donors and stuff, all the people who contribute to the program. Excellent idea too. And all the students said something like, oh, well, I have a story about Christian hunting me down and making me do this program. Once you do that, then you're on the hook to make it good, aren't you? And I kind of like that too. Like I was deciding between this and Hillsong, and I said, don't go to Hillsong. Stay with your people. I want to invest in your life. Well, now I have to show up. And I've met with the parents. The parents is the killer. Don't do this. Stay with me. And then I think it's okay for you to have that expectation to deliver excellence because you have leveraged your relationship for them to stick around. But I like the way you said it to your Hillsong student. The last one, again, I think I touched on for us. We know we're winning when we celebrate our students, when they actually stick around and serve. And I make sure, you guys, I feel like I'm going to walk away here and think, well, I met the most callous leader of this program. Document every benefit your school provides to that church. Every shred of income. So at first, Brandon, our lead pastor, is like, just contribute money and I'll distribute it. I'm like, I'll tell you what, I'll contribute money and say precisely where it goes. Because I want that employee to know 10% of their portfolio is being paid by me. So that when they're like, I don't have time for the school of ministry, I'm like, well, but you do. Because I'm paying you to have time for it. When you earn a scholarship, now it takes a few students to get there, but you get to a point where you can give away education at Northwest University to staff people. Do you guys know that? Is that still a thing?
Yeah, it begins at 3 students.
Yeah. Oh. You can start giving education. That is a huge gift. And so I make our executive pastor write it up as salary compensation and put it in their folder. In fact, the first thing I did when I started school is I went back, I met with the EP, and we changed everybody's job description. So a number on their job description is support the School of Ministry and Leadership. I want it to be super clear. And then if they get something like education, I write that down as $10,000 a year coming from the School of Ministry and Leadership to so that when our budget comes out at the end of the year, there's a budget income line that says revenue from the School of Ministry and Leadership. It isn't just what I contribute to salaries. It isn't just what returns to the system and facility. It's also that scholarship. It turns out to be a big enough number to make the trustees go, hey, we're winning. Does that make sense to you? So whatever your wins are, and they're going to be different for everybody, but for us they had crystal clarity. And when it comes up and we bump against things, only 5. Those wins always come out. Being short is not one of my spiritual gifts. I mean, being physically short. Unfortunate spiritual gifts. I'm going to give you 5 specifics. Ready? So I think what was hoped for this was tell us what to do and not what to do. And I just think this is not a recipe. You're going to do something different than I'm going to do. You have a unique environment in which you need to do your thing. If you try to repeat something that somebody else is doing, it won't be for your people. And it won't be your heart, and you won't be as passionate about it. But I'm going to give you, I can never remember lists that are longer than one hand. I'm going to give you 5 things that we have learned that have been distinctive for our program that I think would be good for somebody else without giving you all the details on how to do it. Is that fair? Number 1, include lots of voices. Your students will be tired of hearing you. If you are leading prayer, and then leading their class, and then leading their practicum, and God forbid it's all in the same room, you are creating a recipe for boredom. The people in your church want to help you with this. Put out a notice that says, hey, here's 30 areas we want to provide coaching for our students, and let them check a box. They will flood you with response. Our largest job isn't figuring how to fill the gap, but who to say no to. So there's just there are people in your church who are masters of finance, auto mechanics, mathematics. Let them come in and do it instead of you, because singular voices, 2 or 3 voices, is an awful lot for 8 months out of the year. Number 2, you will not, well, if you're like me, you will not enjoy scheduling this. You will not enjoy showing up for it. You will count the minutes it is happening, and then you will thank God when it is over that you did this. Schedule regular one-on-one counseling and course corrections with your students. Take your lead team, sit them down, meet with those students, bring them in, hear what's going on in their life, schedule this, provide feedback, document it, track it, and follow up on it again. Mid-year, end of the year, transition in years. It takes a ton of time to do this, but it's invaluable for getting them exactly where they need to go. It takes a whole day to just schedule one group and then a whole other day to schedule another group. It's long, it's tiresome, it takes a lot of lead-in work, but nothing has changed our program more than that. Hands-on care that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, who else can provide that kind of time? Number 2. Number 3, I said that the clue is your students have come to church for school. So make the study of the Bible and prayer a consistent, dedicated portion of your program. They can get classroom anywhere. Seek intimacy with Jesus Christ, with your students, with a fervor that you make time for it. It's the most life-changing thing. And let them lead it. Let them lead some Bible. Let them lead some prayer. You don't always have to be the most spiritual person in the room. You'll discover they have great gifts. You'll discover it's their favorite, not when you lead it, but when they see their peers lead it. And it turns into something amazing. Again, when I said we spend an hour a day in Bible and another solid 45 minutes a day, and on Wednesdays it'll be an hour and a half in prayer, students just roll their eyes. Ugh. And at the end, they all tell us universally, what changed your life the most? Bible and prayer. Bible and prayer, Bible and prayer, Bible and prayer. Universal, never change. Number 4, I call this just break the monotony. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Whatever you do regularly, have somebody whose job it is to make sure you don't do it regularly. That's why I employ the youth guy, because he goes, today we're not going to do any of that, we're going to do ice cream. And the organizer is like, you can't do that. And I have just freed him up to say, go get ice cream. You're competing with a college experience. If all they do is the same things over and over, fun is what they will remember. Bible, prayer, and fun. You got to make sure they're having fun. And you just let it be free. Just program in the freedom to not let things happen. Who else is like check the box, make a list kind of person? Okay, so I'm on your page. If I make a box that's supposed to be checked, I won't sleep at night until that thing's checked. So I've just had to learn to say, it'll never get checked. They took off that day and did something else. Number 5, and then I promise I'm done. Social media. Now, most of you look of the right age to manage this, but it's not optional. And if you think the youth guy is going to do it, the youth guy is probably going to focus on promoting his youth ministry. Social media is a hungry beast. You have to feed the wolf at least once or twice a day. Students don't remember they had fun. Apparently the fun doesn't matter until they see themselves having fun on the social media that they are observing. It is a labor. You must create a vault where you save every image and every video. Your entire team must be dedicated to saving and cataloging things on that vault. You must be on every platform, Snap, Insta, even Facebook for old people, because some stuff goes there. Every social platform, it has to be fed all the time. It cannot be fed by the same people, and it has to be fed by quality content. You don't just throw up a picture and say, yay, we had fun today with a nonsensical tag. At the School of Ministry and Leadership, we're dedicated to making fun a part of every day. Hashtag CCUSML, link to that, right? Utilize that. I'm not teaching a class on social media, but I was going to say, lots of the programs I'm seeing are not doing an effective job of helping their students celebrate being there and showing it off to their friends by creating a social media platform that makes them feel like they are a part of something. I can take questions, but I just want to end with this one more time. Starting a CPP program is a commitment and not a recipe. And the single largest component to your success is attention to people and details. Just keep doing it over and over and over. Our favorite scripture at our church, but in the School of Ministry, is certainly Galatians 6:9. Let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. And 2 weeks ago, we cried over the goodness of the harvest and the worthwhileness of this program. Amen. Questions? Wow, you guys are good. Everybody stoked to start their program? Who's doing online classes? Anybody doing live coursework? You are too?
Well, yeah, we're launching in the fall.
Nice.
Our lead pastor will be teaching.
But in my opinion, still, while online courses receive the same pedagogical outcome, people learn content, they don't have the same total output of the potential. If you can ever schedule that, if you can't, so be it. You can do it other ways. Yes.
So I'm hearing a lot of the traditional versus adult program.
Yeah. For us.
Well, and
Yeah.
I've heard it prior to it. I kind of see the point in that just in a previous experience where we were doing schooling before in a different setting. And the adults don't need as much attention. So through just the last day or so, I'm noticing that, I mean, in my head, I'm like going, oh, we don't have to treat them the same way that we do the students. So they don't all have to be in the same category. So that's going to help at least our cohort to separate that and treat them, because we have a lot of adult students actually in ours that would go to school, but they don't have time for the internships.
Right.
The rigorous part of the internships that we make them do. So they could do like a half of one in the sense of being able to volunteer or do
Yeah,
portions of that.
we keep it wide open. Like our application, our student application is long. Our adult application is, are you breathing and can you pay the bill? And will you click that part? And will you show up to class? That's on you.
Yeah.
Our students love having them in class, but everything else is voluntary. And you still get the site fee. Just saying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That easy, huh? Well, you guys are super easy. I'll stick around if you have a question that you didn't want to ask in the group. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you very much, Church.
You should do it because it's totally worthwhile. But like everything that's worthwhile, it's hard. Thanks for your help, Calvin.